Hello everybody and welcome back to the second shelf and to another Books Weekly video, my weekly video in which I discuss with you the books that I've either read from previous weeks or read this week or started this week. And the first book is a book that I've started last week and finished the beginning of this week. I read this for Nonfiction November, and also it was the November's pick for the Feminist Orchestra Book Club, and that is Janet Mock, Redefining Realness. The book is a memoir, Janet Mock's memoir. Mock is a trans woman. She was born, I don't know whether this is the correct way of putting it, biologically as a boy. I hope I'm not offending anyone by putting it that way. That's just my ignorance if you are offended. But anyway, it's a memoir of Janet Mock's journey as a trans woman from early childhood into adulthood. And this was a difficult book for me to read or to discuss with you, because the theme is really important now more than ever, I think, to give voices to minorities or voices to those who are not heard. And I really learned a lot about trans women or transgender in general, the difficulties they experiences and Janet Mock experiences. But I didn't think it was a good book. And that I think that's hard, because if somebody pours her heart out with such a difficult subject, you are not entitled to criticize style a lot. But still, what bugged me with the book more than I didn't like the writing style a lot, and I thought that the structure was quite a mess, and I had wished for a better editor to give it more density and to give it more sort of a line story in it. But I think what the thing that I liked the least was the fact that I constantly had the idea that there's a big discrepancy between the things that Janet Mock tells us, by which I mean where she describes things or analyzes things or makes statements like "my parents were always very supportive," and the same themes when she's not telling but showing. So there is a lot of dialogue, a lot of scenes, and that's very engaging because you really get a sense. But a lot of times these two things didn't fit together. So you get scenes of a quite abusive father, for instance, and that's all very heartbreaking. And 2 pages later, Janet Mock states that her parents were always very supportive. So this discrepancy, I had difficulties grappling with that, and I didn't like the style a lot. Also the way femininity was depicted, with a lot of attention to clothing and makeup and stuff like that. So I'm conflicted about the book, like I said, because it is a memoir and it's an important theme. I'm glad I read it, but I can't say that I thought it was a good book. There's nothing more I can make of it. The second book of last week was a spur of the moment thing, and that was Liz Moore's Unseen World. I came across that book because Mercedes over at Mercy's Bookish Musings, I will leave a link to her channel down below, she raved about the book on Twitter. And it looked interesting, so I picked it up, and I'm very, very grateful to Mercedes that she pointed the book out, because it was really a fantastic read. Liz Moore is a contemporary American writer. She was born 1983 in Boston. She has written 2 previous novels. I think the best known of these earlier 2 is Heft. I have to admit I haven't read it, but I will certainly do, because I liked Unseen World so much. The book is about Ada, She is 11 years old when the book starts, and she lives with her father, David, who is an eccentric scientist, runs a computer science lab in Boston. And in the beginning of the story, we learn that David's mind is disintegrating. We learn that he has Alzheimer's, and then we learn that there might be something amiss with David's past, that he might not be who he claimed to be. And we follow Ada and the surrounding characters in their journey to find out more about David, but we also learn something about the computer science lab, the scientists who work there. We learn something about David's illness, about Alzheimer, what that does to him. So the book thematically is about a lot of things, and there's a science fiction twist worked into it. I will not tell you because that would spoil the fun. And it's a fantastic story. It's beautifully written. It's page turning also because you want to know how that is with David's past, but it also is very contemplative. There's like I said, a lot of themes in it that make you think and make you wonder even after you put the book down. So it is a big recommendation from me / Mercedes, because she's the one who recommended the book to me, and I thought it was a fantastic read. And then I read quite some work-related books for an essay that is due in December, but they all have to do with legal ethics and being a lawyer and stuff like that. So I'm not going to bore you with those books. So there are only two more to discuss, and both books I've started last week. The first one is Becky Chambers' A Long Way to a Small Angry Planet, and I'm reading that for a readathon. That is the Tome Topple readathon, hosted by Samantha over at Thoughts on Tomes. And the readathon takes place from the 18th to the 30th of November, and the idea is to tackle books over 500 pages. And Long Way to a Small Angry Planet just qualifies because it has, on at least the Kindle version I have, has I think 510 or 512 pages. Becky Chambers was born in California, lived in Iceland and Scotland for some time, but is now back in California. She also writes non-fiction and short story, and I believe Long Way to a Small Angry Planet was her first novel, but I forgot to look that up and I'm not entirely sure. Anyway, it's a science fiction book published in 2014, the first in a series, the Wayfarers series. The second one was just published in October, and I think it made the rounds on BookTube after 2014, so a lot of you will probably know it, and I've heard of it, but it's just now that I picked it up for Tome Topple Readathon. I'm halfway through, and I absolutely love the beginning. We are on a spaceship, and we encounter a very futuristic setting, which is wonderfully introduced without any info dump. There are non-human sapiens, so non-human people on the ship as well as humans, and we are introduced to those characters and their worlds in a really, really beautifully done and engaging way. There is not much going on plot-wise. There are incidents, and it's almost like short stories, and they are enjoyable and funny at times to read, but I have a bit of a difficulty to see the overall plot, but maybe that changes in the second half. So I like the writing, I like the world, I like the characters and the way that is done, but I'm not sure about the plot yet. We'll have to wait and find out. And the last book is a book that I've literally just opened. I think I've read 2 pages. A non-fiction book The Age of Entanglement by Louise Gilder. It's her first book. I think she's a scientist, but I'm not sure. I will have to find out more about the author next week. I'm reading this for nonfiction November in the category Fascinated, because I'm a geek and I'm a nerd and I love physics stuff. So this is about Heisenberg's theory and Einstein and Bohr and the whole weird world of quantum physics. So I'm really looking forward to this one. So this was it for this week's Books Weekly. Thank you all for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. Leave comments as always if you want to, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.